going to be a story time video, and it's kind of a scary thing when you like stop and think about it. I was on Snapchat and they had this like thing where you could like turn into a demon, where like, and there was a ton of screenshots over it. And for some reason it was like making me like very uncomfortable seeing like these screenshots of it everywhere, because I was like, oh my gosh, people know my secret, that I'm possessed, that I was possessed, that I have this possession on me. Okay. So it can be either really scary when you think about it, like if you're someone who believes, or it can be something where it's like, Trish, you're just like crazy. And I'm kind of on the fence of both. Actually, I'm like right in the middle of both, because when I stop and think about it sometimes, because like I brought this story up to people, and sometimes I'm like, wow, maybe I am possessed. Maybe I need an exorcism. Or it could just be like, Trish, you just be, you know, doing something similar to sleepwalking. Okay, so I'm going to start from when I was 2, when the possession took over. So we lived in this house when I was 2 years old. At the time, there was this guy named the Night Stalker, who was like a serial killer of sorts. My mom calls him the Night Stalker. I don't know if it's like the Night Stalker. I'm sure it is, but sometimes my mom gets crazy. But we lived right on the side of a freeway, and she was always terrified because my dad would travel and we'd be home alone. And so we had moved into this house when I was 2. I was born in Riverside, California, and there was a house in Paris that we grew up since I was 2. And that house we had actually moved to Moreno Valley, which is also not so safe, because my mom was just terrified. Like the swings were being stolen, doors were being broken into like all the time. And it's like, okay, maybe it's just like a robbery or whatever, but she's just like, I just need to move out of this house. I feel unsafe. So we get to our new house, and we're Catholic, and my dad wanted it blessed, and my mom was just like, hey, we don't need it blessed, like, you know, it doesn't matter, let's just move in. And my dad's like, no, we should bless it before we move in, because my dad's like very, very Catholic. I was like, no, we don't need to have it blessed or whatever. Which I never had a house blessed that I've lived in since then, so I don't really think you need it blessed unless you really think there's a curse there. But my dad doesn't believe in curses or anything like that, so I don't think that was it. I think it was just more of like, wanted it blessed maybe because we were young. But that's when I started having like huge like temper tantrums out of nowhere. Like I would just bust out crying, screaming, yelling, literally out of nowhere. And I've had these episodes throughout my entire life, where I would just burst out screaming and yelling, and I still do to this day. A lot of times I have to be triggered by it now, but when I was younger, I did not have to be triggered by it. Like when I was 9, I would just be in the grocery store and decide that I need to start throwing a fit. And my mom, and I've had, like, cops were called on me numerous times when I was like baby. Like we joke about it in our family that like cops were called on me when I was like 3 because like they thought that my dad was kidnapping me, because I would say like, I guess, I don't know, because here's the thing, I don't recall any of it. Like if people tell me this, I'm like, I don't recall any of it. There was instances when I was younger that like my brother had like this knee injury in middle school, and there was a thing that like I used to like grab my sister's ankles. Again, this is all just like what I've heard. Like I used to, like, we had a staircase that went down to the basement, and in between these like in between the stairs, it's kind of hard to explain. In between the stairs was like holes. I guess it's not hard to explain because that's how stairs work. It wasn't a solid staircase. It was one where you could like put your hand through and like grab someone, and I grabbed my sister and like made her fall multiple times. And I did the same thing to my brother apparently, and I guess I did that to him, and then I like whacked him in the knee with like a golf club. Like all things I seriously cannot remember. And I feel like my siblings were actually kind of scared of me because I was kind of violent as a child, but not like it would just be very random. And my mom, I guess, would just tell them that I had mental issues, I guess. And I think my brother and sister kind of knew there was always something maybe a little wrong with me because of my temper tantrums and stuff, but I just never remembered any of it. So I know right here you're probably like, Trish, you were just like a bad, crazy kid with mental issues. And that's what I thought for the most part. But fast forward to a couple years, and I was dating this guy named Phil from this like rock band. Kind of a popular rock band, but anyways, not the point. And I was staying with him, and he was, yeah, I guess rock band has something to do with it. I met him, oh gosh, there's 2 rock star incidences that happened, and maybe they were just satanic or whatever. But the first, not Phil, but the first one I dated that was in a different rock band from the 80s who used to look like Bret Michaels, and now he kind of looks more like Marilyn Manson, and then now he looks like a fat Marilyn Manson. He was very satanic, but kind of character-y satanic, meaning like, you know how Marilyn Manson is like a character? That's kind of like his thing. He'd have like upside down crosses, and he was like more character-y satanic, and he'd have like upside down crosses in his house. So which I thought was like edgy and cool, like Marilyn Manson, like not thinking anything of it. So I stayed with him for maybe like 6 months, and during those 6 months, I experienced really violent behaviors again, where I've had the police called on me, but things that I just couldn't remember doing. Like I could not remember doing at all. Like I would do really random things in the middle of the night. Like I would become violent, where I would like, again, I don't remember any of this, but I guess I like put a pillow over his head and he was like scared and like called the cops, and the cops came, and then he's like, no, it's fine, she just sleepwalks, that's just like her thing. And then I guess I like took a knife at one point, and like he thought I was possessed. And he was so into this kind of stuff that he kind of, even more so than just for his character, he was just like so into this kind of stuff that he's like, we need to have like this exorcism, but like not get it out of you, just see what's coming. This is so cool that it's in my house. So I honestly think that maybe the houses I'm in kind of bring those sort of like spirits to me, because we were in 2 evil houses when I grew up, and then when I got out of those houses, maybe around 11, we had moved to another house in that same part of town. I was totally fine, and I was totally fine up until this happened. So again, I wasn't having temper tantrums, I wasn't being violent. And so then I started staying at this guy's house, and I started becoming violent again with no recollection of this happening at all. Still to this day, no recollection. This is all just from what I hear. And then, so that happened with that guy, the first guy from the band, and we had this sort of like, I guess it was a seance, I guess it wasn't an exorcism, it was kind of like a seance where they were trying to bring these like spirits, and all I remember from that, because again, I don't remember much, all I remember is like the house going dark and everyone getting really quiet, and I was like, what's happening, like no one's saying anything, and apparently in this time, I was the one that became silent, and there was 3 other people telling me the story. So apparently I was the one that was becoming silent, and I just had this like look of like death over my face that I just like literally looked like I was gonna like murder everybody. And I guess they told the like seance lady to like get out, like they were totally scared. And after that, like he was like basically thought I was demonic. And he had a child of like a 13-year-old daughter who lived in like Canada, and like when she came to visit, he basically just like kicked me out, and like I never really heard from him again, and that's how that ended. But through him, I had met this other guy in this rock band, and that's this guy, and that I'm going to tell the story about. And he was not necessarily satanic or anything like that, but he definitely was someone who wasn't like religious or anything. So basically we talk about, you know, when you like, cause I moved in with him because I had really no place to go. I moved in with him kind of quickly. And, basically with this story is like, you know, you talk about like, have you had like, you know, a violent past or anything. So he had this like past where like he was arrested a couple times for domestic abuse, like domestic violence, and which is kind of scary to me, but I don't really judge, especially maybe now more I would judge if you've had like 3 arrests on domestic violence. You know, I try not to judge, because you don't really know the situation. Was someone overreacting? Is he a different person now? Like you try not to judge people on their past, and so I definitely didn't. But the point of that is that he was kind of a violent guy himself, and he said that with every occasion of him being arrested, like he was provoked. So we got into an altercation, and again, this is just the honest truth, I am not a violent person. Like I do not, when I am conscious, I would never hit anyone. Honestly, I never have violent thoughts about people, like ever. Like I'm really not that kind of person. And it's where kind of like, I knew I was like, and at this time I wasn't going to church, and like ever since I started going back to church and like praying on things, like it definitely had gotten better and like more controlled, I guess you could say. So if there was any sort of demon in me, it was, I guess, controlled or suppressed by God's power. But at this time I was not. I was on drugs, and I was stripping, and I was just having crazy sex with a lot of random people, and like random guys that did not care about me. So anyways, we had this altercation, this fight. And he did get physical with me, and kind of just like grabbed me, like shook me. And I don't remember much about what happened, because the police ended up getting called on me, and I had to give like a statement. And I said, the last thing I remember is he was shaking me, and I just thought I went unconscious. And the cop said that my boyfriend, I guess, we were only dating like maybe a month, had called because he said that he thought I was gonna kill him. And I was like, okay, well that makes no sense. Like I'm a small thing. I mean, he was a small thing too. He wasn't like big or anything like that, but I was just like, I was like, how was I gonna kill him or something like that? And he said he started like speaking in like tongues or something like that. And I was just like, that does not sound like me at all, like nothing. It was just very, very strange that I would do that. But the only thing that kind of was like, oh my gosh, I kind of remember that, is that I guess he said that I tried to trip him down the stairs. And I was just like, when they said that, I was just like, oh my God, like it was like a moment from a movie where you're just like, oh no, did I do that? Did I really do that? Because like I said, it happened when I was younger with my family, and any of my family can attest to that, but I can also attest that I don't remember any of that. Same thing with this one, I don't remember any of that. So I just basically, that ended up happening. I ended up like moving out on my own, like, you know, just being okay. Now the only other incidences that I guess you could call possession, that I don't know if the demon, if you want to call it that, is completely out of me, because I've had even like therapists tell me that it sounds sort of like demonic, like you could do it like exorcism, like sort of thing, where it's like I have this like demon-like behavior in me. Because at night when I was with, I think I said his name, but I was with a boyfriend who actually ended up killing himself after we were separated. But we would sleep, and he said at night that I would just talk about like wanting to like jump off a building or like drive my car off a cliff, like really violent things. And I'm not a suicidal person, and I've never really had like, I mean, I've had like maybe a thought where I'm just like, gosh, you know, life is so hard, but I never like visualize how I would like kill myself or say it ever. And so it just wasn't stuff like me. And I would have like, and so I guess like I would say that in my sleep, and then like I would have tantrums with him. But the tantrum things I still have, I lose my mind, and I chalk it up to anger management. Like I need anger management. Like I have a really hard time controlling my anger. But a lot of therapists and other people have told me that it's something that's almost like demonic that comes in me, where I'm a different person. Even the guy I'm seeing now, he's like, that just scared me, to be honest. Like it's like my outburst, because I can throw tantrums that are kind of unexplainable and kind of out of nowhere. And honestly, that's the scariest part to me about it all, is that I can't really control these things. And I guess that's why I'm like kind of terrified to be with people and be alone with people. And any guy that I've been with have been able to like calm me, and my parents, like, and my family, they all kind of know, you know, that I have these outbursts at times. But the whole thing of it to me is I pray a lot, because if it is something demonic or something satanic inside of me, then the only thing I can do is pray, and God has the only power to get those out of me. I don't necessarily believe in like an exorcism. I feel like that might be a little like too dramatic, and I'm also scared. Like I know when exorcisms are performed, sometimes they can go wrong, or sometimes more evil spirits can enter you. Like it's not always like what it should be or what has been said about them before. And I've obviously never, I was gonna say I've never like hurt anyone, and I guess I have hurt people, and I honestly just like can't control it. And I've been on so many medications, so a lot of people might think it's like schizophrenia or bipolar or histrionic personality disorder, and I've been on medications for pretty much everything. And I think sometimes misdiagnosed perhaps, because sometimes medications make me crazier. However, I'm at this point now where I've been on so many medications since I was 18, because everyone thinks something's mentally wrong with me, that I feel like being off of some make me even crazier than I am. But this has been going on since I was 2, like the tantrums and stuff like that. That's just like random outbursts. And the only connection that I have to make all these kind of stories in common were the houses I was staying in at the time that the violent outbreaks occurred. The first house was our house in Moreno Valley, which was right by the freeway, and this was the one that was just, you know, bad juju, bad news, you know, from the beginning basically, because just so the first house, if you guys didn't really catch that, I don't know if I've really explained it thoroughly. The first house was the one that was like being broken into and like the Night Stalker stuff. And then the second one, this was the house also where I was first attacked by pit bulls. I was around 2 or 3, where like pit bulls literally ripped off my face. And this is the one that my mom wanted to get blessed, or my dad wanted to get blessed, but my mom didn't. And there was just a lot of bad energy in that house. And then when we moved back to Illinois, we lived in a house in Dakota very, very, very briefly, because like, I don't know why, we just lived in it very briefly. And then we moved to a house in Byron that we stayed in for like, you know, most of my grade school life, where then I started doing like violent sort of things, like outbursts again. And that house was most definitely haunted. I swear everyone who lived there has said it was haunted. Just really strange occurrences again happened there. Like we would, Lights would go out all the time. They would flicker back on and off. Our TV would always like, it would like scramble, and it would almost be like, you know those like baby monitors where like people can like hack them? It was almost like our TVs were hacked. It was very strange, and we would get like weird like news updates from like Zimbabwe or somewhere like in a foreign country saying like foreign languages. So it was like definitely a haunted house. There was definitely like a lot of scary things, but like I said, our family didn't necessarily believe in like ghosts or hauntings, and I still kind of don't, but I have been told maybe I'm possessed, and I haven't had any violent outbursts since the rock band dude, basically. And then of course with my ex-boyfriend, where I stayed with him, and I just had started like saying like suicidal things in my sleep. So it's kind of scary because sometimes you cannot control it, and if you are possessed by a demon, you know, I don't like to think of it like that. So that's why I'm saying, like, in my head, it could just be something like, Trish, you're just a crazy girl. But in some people's heads, it's like, oh no, you were like possessed. This is like something that needs to be like taken care of and resolved. And so, like I said, taking medications, and I prayed. I've done pretty much everything except getting that demon exorcised out of me. And I'm not a violent person. I don't think you should be scared of me. And I think it's definitely like a thing with mental illness, which I have a whole history of in my family of mental illnesses. Some of my relatives take medication for bipolar and that kind of stuff, so I do have history of that. But I just saying, my normal state of consciousness, I'm definitely a rational person, and I've had every like place I'm in has like crucifixes now, and like I'm very religious and I'm very connected with God, and that has changed my erraticism, my behavior, with a few exceptions of like tantrums. But other than that, I'm pretty much under control, and thank God literally for that, because it's a scary thing. So I hope this video didn't like scare you. I didn't do it to like scare you guys, but just know that sometimes I think that possessions are real, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you just have to either live with it or pray on it. And yeah, I thought it was a fitting time to share this story because it is Halloween time, and a lot of you guys were requesting ghost stories, and I don't have necessarily ghost stories other than the ghosts that live within me. So anyways, yeah, I was a little freaked out by that possession one on Snapchat, and like I said, every time I saw that picture, I would just have flashbacks to you know, the police being called on me, or like hurting my family, which is something I would never ever do. Just all very scary. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story time video, and hopefully it does not freak you guys out all too much. Who knows what the explanation is? Lord knows I spent my life trying, but I know the answer to everything is always prayer, and that's what I do. But I love you guys so much, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you don't think differently of me. As always, I want to say hi to Miranda's, and until next time, here are my kisses to my little baby fishes. Mwah. Bye guys.